going on? Fatherhood is back in effect. Manny, what's going on? We don't got Kether today.
No, he's busy lifing. but we here though. We got to get.
We have a perfect replacement for him today.
Right.
Someone who's no stranger to the microphone in front of him. The homie Chuck Dizzle. And pause in case people who need pauses for that shit.
Wait, why would there be a pause?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you, because you in New York, everybody in New York pauses for everything.
You just never know, right? Is Chuck a pause worthy?
Just in case a microphone in front of you, when the microphone should be in front of you.
See, I'm not
deserves
like
a pause.
That shit is
that's like PTSD right there, bro.
Yeah, I'll be around Nori too much in the New York side, bro, and they just
everything is
pausing for everything. You say something innocent, pause. What the fuck you gotta pause for?
I don't get it.
There's no intention in there.
You know what the problem that we have is, like, here in New York, and people that fuck with New York is like you on the defensive all the time, right? So you always trying to like stay a step ahead, and then that makes everything. That makes everything suspect. So you always like when it doesn't even make sense, and I blame Cameron for that.
Anyways,
the whole thing into the game.
Back to our special guest today, Chuck Dizzle, Homegrown Radio, Real 92.3. I'm sure way more things than that, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's a media veteran at this point already. You know what I'm saying? He really puts on for really is my original crib, which is LA, where I'm originally born. He's like a staple in LA. And just, you know, and he's a father, which is the most important thing in this podcast. Mm-hmm. You could be an astronaut, and that shit don't really matter in this podcast.
As long as you're a father.
As long as you are a father.
Wait, you also do. I don't know if it's a segment, Chuck, or what it is, a full-on podcast in and of itself. But you do.
What's a podcast?
A podcast.
It's a Latino podcast. It's a podcast.
A podcast.
You're talking about Dad Vice, right?
Yeah, Dad Vice.
Dad Vice is a segment. I mean, it kind of, we'll get into it, man. But it really stemmed from me being curious about fatherhood, about like being in this space of media, right, and being extremely busy and just not knowing like how to kind of like tackle that. And actually the first person I asked was Nipsey, man. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. Wow. And I'm like, yo, bro, like this is right when Victory, like he had just announced Victory Lap. So he was in that space and that run of like getting the album going. He had stopped off at the station and chopped it up with me and head on Homegrown. And I'm like, bro, like before we do anything, or like in the middle of the interview, I'm like, how do you do this as a father? I just found out I'm going to be a dad in a couple of months. Like, how do you do this? And he was just like, he gave me some advice from there. And I'm like, yo, that'd be fire to ask fathers their perspective on fatherhood, and just get that, because as you guys already know, every person has a different reaction or a different response. Even if it's the same answer, their perspective and their own twist to it is a different answer, and I get gold from it every single time, man.
So wait, so what did Nipsey tell you?
So he told me, he said, man, be sharp about your time. He said, I'm a sniper with my time now. He said, if it ain't about my kids, I'm not there. You know what I mean? I'm very intentional on my time. And for the most part, a lot of fathers tell me that same thing, but the way he told me, it made sense. It is something I actually implement to this day. Like just the other day, I got hit up to do 2 events, and I'm like, bro, I can't do it. I'm with my kids that day. I'm not gonna risk that. For me, being there in these critical moments, the first couple of years was so important for me, especially with my first one, because it was my first time being a father, right? And I didn't really know how to like navigate the time. It kind of, I have a little more sense of how to do it now, but that first go round, I'm like, yo, I don't want to miss a moment, right? So it just stayed true to me, and I'm like, okay, I was a sniper with my time, you know, and I made sure that I, you know, not to this day, I still turn down things because of that. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this, because I have that same thing that you just talked about, the same thing, you know, and I actually get mad offended when people kind of like either don't understand it or want to ask too many questions when it's none of their business as to why I won't do something or won't go somewhere. And I start like in my mind, I got beef with this person. like I get mad offended. I'm like, yo, what you ain't a parent? What, you ain't got kids? Like, what the fuck is your problem?
Bro, you don't understand. And to be honest, like I do in a sense take it personal too, because like yourself, like people know that you're an active father. Like, so it's like, bro, why would you ask so many questions and not understand like, yo, this is important to my life. Like, and but what it does, EFN, what it does for me, it shows me how to place you in my life. It's like, oh, okay, you don't get it. Cool. That's all good. I just know how to now compartmentalize you in my life. It's like you're not as important as I thought you were. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily have beef with them, but it's like it places them in a certain lane in my mind now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my Cuban anger comes out sometimes.
Let me ask
you. Fuck.
Fuck you.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Let's define. You got, is it a 2-year-old? 3-year-old?
I got one's gonna be 5 in a few weeks.
Damn.
And then
I
one
what's
ours
yours?
is like mine.
What's your second one?
My second one is going to be well, he is damn. What is he? He's born on. I'm still getting that. That's still fresh for me. So it's February 27th. Okay. So that is that a Pisces technically?
Yes. Yeah, because I have a February 29th and she's Pisces.
And the first one, and that one's gonna be 2 months now.
Oh,
still
mad.
The weeks,
still
it's super fresh.
Still in baby stages.
Right. The first one, he's a Gemini. And
that's EFN.
Relax, man. Relax.
I love y'all, but damn.
My son's a Gemini, my second one. A June Gemini, which I say I'm a May Gemini. I always say, all the wrong shit about Geminis is the June Geminis.
He's a June Gemini. So yeah, he's a June Gemini.
My son is June 2nd.
When I tell you hot and cold, it's like, what? He'll wake up not the angriest. I'm not gonna say angry, but he'll wake up and just in a funk, like I'm not trying to do nothing. And then 10 minutes later, hey dad, good morning. I love you. It's like sour and sweet, man.
Hey man, why you describing Geminis like that?
I'm just saying, you know what? Because I
sound like a Cancer.
Geminis.
It sound like the Cancers.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm still a lot of the zodiac shit I don't really understand too much, but I know for sure he's definitely like 2 different personalities. And I always hear that about Geminis, and I never really attached it to. But for him specifically, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a real deal. For what they describe as Geminis, you are one for sure.
Pac embodied that for sure as a Gemini. He's a June Gemini. We got the best MCs. Gemini's got the best MCs.
So
sure.
he was gonna be born. I'm a big Pac fan for the record. And he was actually gonna be born. His due date was June 2nd, right? But he ended up being 2 weeks late. It was a whole ordeal. I'll give you the short story. We were supposed to go to a birthing center. That didn't work out. End up having to go to the hospital, getting damn near like an emergency C-section. It was a wild situation. But he was gonna be born on June. I thought he was going to be born on June 16th. Then I thought he was going to be born on, I think Ice Cube's birthday is the 15th. So I'm like, it's going to be one of them legendary days, like whatever. But he ended up being born on the 18th. So,
but Cube, that's not a Gemini, right? At that point,
I think Cube, Cube's a Gemini. I believe.
Don't tell me that, because
I think Cube is a Gemini.
Has always been one of my favorite MCs of all time. But I never knew him as a Gemini. I think he's on that cusp part. But if he is, that would be wild, because Kendrick, him, Biggie.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was Kendrick and Pac. That's what it was. It was Kendrick and Pac. Sorry about that.
So May 21st through June 21st.
Oh, so yeah. So Ice Cube is a Gemini. Get the fuck out of here.
Ice Cube's birthday. Oh yeah, June 15th. Yeah. Him and Kendrick, I believe, are the same day, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yep.
That makes a lot more sense.
If not, it's days apart. Yeah.
That's crazy. And you know what's wild about your story too? So my daughter just turned 5.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember,
her story was supposed to be a birthing center, and we ended up going to the hospital. Didn't work out. But then my son, he was born during the pandemic, during quarantine, and birthing center, it all worked out with him. But he's the Gemini. She's a Taurus. She's in May, and I'm in May. My girl's in May, and then my son's in June.
I'm a May baby too, May 7th. So yeah, Taurus gang all day.
May 6th, baby. May 6th.
Yep. So what was funny is that he was born, his due date was June 2nd. We thought he might have came early to be a Taurus, you know what I mean? And then when it fell back again with those 2 dates with Kendrick and then Pac, that same weekend was Father's Day. So I'm like, he might be born on Father's Day. He ended up being born on Monday, which is the following day. But it was just a wild weekend, man, when he was born. But as you already know, man, like and one thing that I've learned from this experience, every kid is different, right? Mm-hmm. So the experiences I thought that I was going to have with the first one, we didn't have with the second one. The second one, calm. We ended up still going to the hospital, but it was a hospital that was salute to them because they kind of understood more like a holistic approach. So they allowed, it's kind of graphic. They allowed my wife, they did a C-section, but they allowed her to grab the baby from.
Wow, that's
yeah.
real.
That was the first time the hospital ever done that. And so the midwife, she was just, I mean, everybody, the whole process was just so smooth. And I think that gave us a chance to have that moment that we didn't have with our first one. So now it's like, for us, it's like completion. Like, we got a chance to have that moment of, looking at your kid for the first time, crying, and just having the very first one, super emergency. I didn't even know if my wife is going to live or not. Like it was either my wife or my son. It was just wild. So to have this with our second one is like, we all felt like, man, this is amazing, an amazing experience. So
yeah, same here, man. Same thing. My son, it was smooth. Like she had him in the tub. It was a birthing center. My mom and her grandma was just chilling on the couch. My daughter was watching the iPad, like if nothing was happening behind her.
Let me ask you this, bro. So was it because of the pandemic that you guys decided to go that route again? Or was it because for us, we were kind of like, man, I don't know about we didn't have the best experience with the birthing center because they weren't really being very communicative. So that was another reason why we're like, man, we kind of know the structured system that a hospital provides, and we're going to go that we did our research with it. But for you, was it because of the pandemic or was it?
No, we changed birthing centers this time, but the first one was cool. There's things that we would have liked to have been better, but the midwife was amazing.
Got it.
And we wanted to get the same midwife again. And what was cool about the first time that it didn't happen in the birthing centers, the midwife was also a nurse at the same hospital.
Got it.
So it was like VIP treatment, like how like having a concierge, like,
right in, yeah.
And the birthing center was across the street from the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So we just went right over. She like took us right up. She knew everybody, so it was like easy, like high-fiving the doctors, and it was all good. But then my son, like I said, we just changed birthing centers. I think it was right before everything started happening. We were already in that birthing center going through the process of what was going to happen. And it just happened to be that it worked out because, you hear all these nightmares. I mean, did you guys? No, you guys didn't have to give birth during quarantine or anything like that, obviously.
Nah,
right?
It's right before.
Yeah, but I heard a lot of horror stories of people, the fathers couldn't go in, family couldn't go in. So in this situation, it was quarantine time, but it was like and we were like the second or third, it was a brand new birthing center. We're like the second or third baby born there. And
they give you a plaque, bro. They should give you a plaque.
Nah, but
congratulations.
What was weird is they took a picture of us, and someone just had a baby. They're like, "Yo, I just saw you guys in their board." Like, that's a little weird.
In the brochure.
That's a little weird. Because we were like out of it. We're like tired. We just got the baby. They're like, "Can we take it?" We're like, "Yeah, whatever." Like want to get out of here, bro.
You're the case study.
but what was dope about that experience is that we went to the birthing center, and literally within 3 or 4 hours, we were out.
Really?
Yeah.
Like your wife too? Like there's nothing.
Everybody, like that was a little bit surreal. Like 1 minute we in there, my girl's screaming, she's in the tub, baby pops out, I'm holding the baby, they're just checking for vitals, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, all right, cool, sign these papers. And you out, and we back at the crib before the night's up.
Right? Like the sun's not even down yet. You figured out dinner plans. Like
what? I'm like holding I was like, is this safe? Like, I don't know. Man. We stayed at the hospital
right here
for at least I think 24 hours or 48 hours the last time. This shit it was cool though, but it was a little weird.
Shit, I'd be hella nervous. I don't remember you telling us that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yo, wait, real quick, before we lose like the train of thought around this, because we started the conversation around like how to manage time and how important, trying to do that is. Chuck, I wonder, do you have methods, tools, frameworks that you use in order to like really be intentional about managing your time and like holding to it?
The thing about us, man, I think because I do radio, I do obviously media with iHeart. So not only am I here in Los Angeles, but they have me over 50 different markets in the country, right?
Go ahead, dust your shoulders off,
man. Yeah, I got to a little bit. Like,
that syndication popping.
I'm getting, I got to get a little more intentional about receiving the flowers and talking about. Usually, I'm more like, don't talk about it, but whatever. So with doing that and doing homegrown. We have a strong, and my wife being a chef and her being an entrepreneur, we have a very strong support system. So that allows us to kind of maneuver in a way that a lot of people aren't able to. And because of that, it allows us to kind of have a different framework. So like right now, my wife's mom is watching the kid, right? So it's like we have a calendar of like, okay, hey, this is what I got going on. So me and my wife, we share calendars to say, look, this is what interviews I got going on. This is what events are going on. Hey, can we make it happen first of all? If not, then it's just me and you. We have to figure this out. Right. We got to cancel the event, can't do something, literally put money off to the side so that we're able to kind of have those moments of like, it's just us hands on, or hey, can somebody from the family pitch in? So on the daily, a lot of our as scheduled as our schedules are, it's a little kind of like the framework is wild because it's like as much as you try to plan shit, things change as well. But I think because of our support system, it allows us to kind of make things happen. So exactly for today, like she's watching the kid until like 12 or 1 it's West Coast time. Then I'm kicking in for the next couple of hours until wifey gets home. And then so it's always a like, all right, I got your back, you got my back. This is what I got going on. We really over communicate what's happening so that a lot of things don't slip through the cracks.
All right, but what's the ugly side of it? You painted that picture way too good.
No. So the ugly side is, yo, you didn't put shit in the calendar. What the fuck? Like,
yes,
and that's me. That's me. Right. I'm one that I think that I told you I'm interviewing so and so today. I have to go to the station. Like, there's certain things like I'll tell you, certain people I can just brush off, but then there's other ones like, yo, we got so and so we interviewing right now. I cannot miss this. Like. Hey, you gotta watch the kid right now. We gotta figure it out. So like, there are those moments where she'll say, hey, look, I have a wedding that I'm doing. Like, these people paid a deposit. So fuck whoever you're interviewing right now. I have to get this money. So we both kind of go back and forth with that. Some things slip through the cracks. And again, by the grace of God and our support system, we can hit people up at the last minute. Like, okay, your mom's not available. Okay. My mom. Okay, my mom's not available. Man, my little niece. All right, my niece not available. All right, we got a really good couple that's friends with us, right? And our sons are the same age. So we kind of trust them with watching our sons. So it's like, yo, look, I know it's last minute, but can you pull up real quick? Or can we drop, the kids off? Or now it's kids, which is wild saying that out loud. It should just be one kid. But yo, can we drop the kids off? It's like, so it gets crazy. But in those like heat of the moment, times that we have a support system we can fall back on. But if not, we just in the house looking at each other pissed because one of us had to cancel and the other one didn't.
So what I took away from that, and it's something that we use in our household, and I don't think you've done this shit yet, but like sharing a Google Calendar is everything. And then second, over communicating. So like we always get caught, like somebody every now and again, we're getting better over time, but like every so often, one of us forgets to put, something on the calendar, and we have that kind of situation. Bro. A lot of the time, my wife, to her credit, she's like, she sacrifices. Mm-hmm. And I gotta kind of meet her sometimes too and be like, nah, fuck it, it's not that serious. I'll take the L here. Yeah. But it's a training mechanism to get you on the same page going through those rough spots. But that shared Google Calendar, bro,
yeah,
it's the best tool I've ever seen.
Yo, like, for example, for today, like I told her weeks ago, I'm like, hey, look, I already misscheduled me going on this podcast because of the Atlanta trip that I had. Then we just came back from Vegas. And I'm just like, look, I know you have to go prep today for the event, but look, I put this in the calendar weeks ago. So figure it out. And then, her moms ended up coming and we, made it work out. But yeah, it's some things to get slips through the cracks like that.
And it's funny going back to when you said about maybe canceling things and stuff like that. It's funny because in recent Drink Champs scheduling, because Drink Champs is wild the way that we do things. It's like, I always tell people we're like firefighters. We get the call and we come. But as one kid, maybe that's doable. Now I got 2, and I've been trying to figure out, okay, we gotta rein in this a little bit. Right. And so there's been episodes where I didn't go. I told Nori, wow. And I've told him, we've talked about it before. And I was like, yo, because I'm like, we got to try to like organize this in a way where there's some kind of a schedule, even if we block off a certain amount of days, but there's got to be some kind of schedule to this. And there's been maybe, I think in the past couple months, there's been like 2 episodes and people were like, oh, EFN's not on the show anymore. I'm like, no, that's not the case.
I
at
got
all.
kids.
In fact, I am the boss of me and Nori are both bosses of the show. We own the
Talk
show.
that shit. Yeah.
So there's nothing that's going to happen to me, but it came to a point where I'm like, you know what? Nothing's more important. And I've said this all the time. Nothing is more important than being present. And the one thing, even though it might not seem significant to other people, is like when your kids are expecting you to be there for them for whatever reason, an event, or maybe it's just that day you committed to doing all the regular shit that they do usually with their mom, and they find that to be like because I'm not usually the one that takes them to school. I'm not usually the one that takes them to the daycare or does something after school with them or whatever. So I'm like, I'm committing to it. I'm not gonna pull out of that
Absolutely
last minute because and unfortunately, the amazing thing that we got going on Drink Champs, but it's like, at this point, this is more important. We got to make sure that there's a balance to it.
I'll tell you, like, my own personal trauma with my father has been square. I mean, it's several things, but the biggest thing for me has been I said trauma. Like, the reason why we have kind of a little bit of a turbulent relationship is because saying you're going to be somewhere or do something and not showing up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a fuck about Christmas gifts and none of that shit matter. It's like, yo, you said we're going to go to the park. Oh, there's always an excuse or some other shit comes up. And that to me is like the biggest thing with my kids. Like, I know how those little things over time creates that pattern and that habit that the kids will take with them, whether it's you're doing the right thing or you're doing the opposite.
Right.
So I think that's a hugely important thing. And in the microcosm of like Drink Champs or, what you're doing, Chuck, it's hard because you've got this really amazing moment that pops up that, can be potentially a game changer or really engaging opportunity for your audiences. But man, if you committed to taking your kid to even the park, and that conflicts, like that shit, it sets a tone for them.
Yeah.
It's huge. No, and it's funny as you say that, thinking about my childhood. So, I come from a broken home. My dad was there, right? But my parents broke up when I was like 8 or 9. They got divorced, right? So I remember a time when my dad was in the house and when my dad wasn't in the house. And, I have to go visit him on the weekends and things of that nature, right? And throughout that, I remember even with my mom and dad, they both worked a lot, right? And when I got involved, I wasn't really into it like that. But when I did have sports, t-ball, the basketball or whatever throughout the years, I just remember, especially like as I got older, them not being able to come to my games because of work. So it's like, ooh. And it was never, hey, I'll be there and I'll be there and I just didn't show up. It was like, yo, mama got to work. Daddy has to work. I don't get off until this time and the game's already up. Like they just couldn't do it, right? So for me, I think that's why I overcompensate with that time a lot, right? I remember, being that latchkey kid and, having to get carpool rides and getting dropped off at home, having a key when I was in the 2nd grade to get into the house and being home until my mom had to get off of work. And, figuring out dinner for myself, so I remember all of these moments. So for me, I overcompensate that time I have with my kids now. So for me, that's why I feel comfortable sacrificing those moments, because to me, it's so important. I never want them to have that time of like, oh damn, man, daddy had to work, so he couldn't, and if it happens once or twice, because it does happen, but it's not an overall theme. So like to your point, EFN, I'm the one that gets up and takes him to school. I'm there. I'm very present, and I've made it a point to be present early on, because I know my schedule might change at some point in time.
Right.
But I want to have that solid foundation of like, damn, your dad was the one that he was the one that got me up, got my lunch ready, packed it, took me to school. All of these things. So it's like that heavy balance. And even recently, we just signed my son up for T-ball. And like that whole situation is kind of funny now, because even to your point, I'm like, oh shit, I scheduled it. I didn't realize his practice falls on the days that we typically record Homegrown. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I have to figure this. I have to reschedule Homegrown for the next 7 or 8 weeks. You know what I mean? In terms of like doing that to make it work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's all about consistency. Like what you're saying is like, for me, I don't take the kids to school, but every morning I'm a part of their morning routine, and every night that I'm around that I'm not working, I'm a part of their night routine. And they're so used to that. Like when I work, that's to them is like, oh, dad's not here. And it's like a big impact for them.
It's not normal. Yeah.
It's not normal. And you know, we got to say something, both of us, and even Manny as well, is like, we have to appreciate that we have that luxury where we could be there, because, you know, there might be listeners right now that work that 9 to 5 or that corporate job or whatever kind of job that they work, that to put, you know, food on the table, they don't have luxuries with their schedule. They don't have flexibility. And so I do appreciate that, but at the same token, that doesn't change how much, if I could have 100% with the kids,
yeah,
I'd be there. And what's funny too is that I think sometimes people on the outside, they look at it like, oh damn, you know, you like it's a chore to have to be home with your kids or doing stuff with the family. And it's like, oh, your girl got you like that. Like, nah, bro. This is me enjoying my time with the kids, because life is too short, man. And just like you, I come from a broken home, and my dad wasn't around, and I'm probably overcompensating, but I'm cool with that.
I'm A-okay with that. Yeah. I'm A-okay with that.
So, something to say, like, even the people that don't have the flexibilities that we have, the time that you do have, spend it intentionally, right?
Right.
Like, because I think that still makes a tremendous impact. Instead of you being like on your phone as soon as you get off from work and like not paying attention to your kids, or like sitting watching the game or whatever, like, yo, find a way to get your enjoyment time, but really be there for your kids. Because there's days that I might be out of the home for 10 hours, right? And I come just before I got to tuck the kids in. And even though I'm tired, I might be eating right when I get home, but it's time to tuck the kids in, I'm putting down the spoon. That's what I'm gonna go do. And it's 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes is part of their lives and their routine. And you feel like, all right, cool, I can go to sleep now. Like, it eases them. So you got to make the time.
Exactly. And like you said, be intentional with that time as well. Cause, you know I noticed with my son, I think he's starting to get it. And even if it's something where I'm watching him play with his iPad, right? You know, it's something, but that's a whole, sometimes with devices, you want them to kind of be off of it. But if that's their thing and they enjoy it, as long as you're there with them doing that, sometimes that's just enough. You know what I'm saying? And like sometimes we look at it as, oh man, I want you to be off your device and let's spend time. It's like, no, but that time is just being present. You know what I mean? And like you say, if they internalize that, they get it, like, daddy's here. That's cool. This is my world. It was funny. I was talking to my therapist about this not too long ago. And so one thing, my son is like super over affectionate, right? And I'm like, yo, sometimes we have to start teaching them about boundaries. Like, hey, you just can't hug strangers, okay, kid? Like, you just can't, like, sir, you just can't go up and kiss people like that. Like, so it gets to that point with him sometimes, right? And the way she framed it, it made me feel great as a parent. She was like, he just comes from a loving environment. Like, that's all he knows. So that's a testament to what his world is and what world you guys created for him. Right. And I'm like, damn, it's funny how I went through the mode of overcompensating, because I can literally count. When my father was alive, like throughout the whole time, like we probably kissed each other like 4 or 5 times, no pause there, 4 or 5 times, right? Yeah, I know it's coming. 4 or 5 times, right? And I'm talking about like embrace, hug, kiss, like I'm wrapping all that into one. So, and I remember like in the first year, you know, I'm showering my son with hugs, kisses, and even to this day. So it's like, that's what he comes from. And now it's manifesting in other ways. And it's like, okay, I have to look at it in a different way, but it's dope to see that in his world is so full of affection and love and embracing. So I've definitely overcompensated for that. And it's ways I have to kind of work on that, but I'd rather have that issue than, you know, something else. You know what I'm
100%.
saying?
Yeah. I'm same way with my kids. I'm over affectionate. My son is mad, like open to it. He's affectionate too. My daughter's hardcore though. She's the one that, you know, you go to give her a hug and she turns her head. And you give her a kiss and she puts her head down. Like, it's like, come on, yo, give me some. She's the Taurus.
Is it all girls? Because, yo, my youngest is the same. I got to keep telling, yo, give me your cheek. Yo, give me your cheek. And my oldest, so real quick, my oldest, she's 16, Chuck. I don't know. You probably don't know this. So I have a 16-year-old daughter. I got a 10-year-old son. I got a 7-year-old daughter. my 16-year-old daughter is the least affectionate of all my kids. And, you know, we like bug her a little bit, and we like random acts of kindness and affection. We'll just run up on her and like grizzly bear hug her ass and like
she don't like it.
Smooch her on the cheek, and she's like like you're doing something bad to her. So yesterday I'm sitting down, I'm eating, and she comes, hugs her mom, which we looked at each other like yo, then she comes to me, which is a harder thing for her. Like her mom is a little bit easier for her to be affectionate with. She comes to me and she gives me a hug. And it's one of those, like, you know, if you give somebody a hug, you like really like, you know, close in. It's a little loose, and she's doing like the little like soft pat on the back. Yeah. And I'm like, normally, because we joke around, normally I'd like push her off or like, you know, if they, but I was like, nah, yo, like I'm coming,
embracing this.
Yeah. She doesn't do this. So I closed in, I hugged her, and I'm like trying to like get really close and into. My wife snapped the picture because she's like, yo, I don't know when we're gonna see this.
They're gonna ever see this again, right?
And it wasn't like her clowning or anything. Like I thought at first it was her joking around, but my wife was like, yo, you're really trying. And she's like, I am. And I was like, oh shit, this is like her like natural emotion thing. I was like, awesome, dope. But it's to the same point. Like we have that kind of household also, where it's like embrace, love, and like we really like fuck with each other like that.
Right.
And my kids look for that. My two youngest in particular. Mm-hmm. And with the way they interact with the world, it becomes a challenge, because you don't want to like stifle that, but you almost have to explain when the appropriate times are and not, because the other person may not be receptive to it, and it might blow up their entire like understanding of how to be.
That, man, you said it so perfectly. Like I'm witnessing that now. Again, taking my son to T-ball, he's interacting with other kids, and I'm like, yo, like I get it. You wanna embrace everybody. It's okay if somebody's not receptive to that. You know, not everybody's gonna want to give you a hug. Not everybody's gonna want to give you a high five or even want to talk to you. That's okay. It's fine. Just be you. So it's like I'm finding myself having those conversations with him now, or at least trying to, and really helping him understand that, yo, look, it's a tough world out there. You know what I'm saying? Just be you at all times. But it's wild to hear you going through that. I mean, I don't know. It's great to hear it too, because it's like, okay, I'm not alone in this shit. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I think as a father, the one thing that I don't, and I'm gonna go through, but what I don't want to go through is not have an answer or not be able to explain something. And when I have those moments, I'm like, oh shit, how can I explain to him, like, okay, boundaries and, you know, being cool with somebody and understanding, like, okay, well, the strangers, like we just had this conversation of, you know, we were in Las Vegas, and again, he's super talkative with everybody. So strangers come up to me, hey, how you doing? Hi. You know, I'm just like, look, that's fine, but you can't do that with anybody. So we're starting to teach him this thing. Hey, if somebody asks you to do something, right, just ask if, you know, can you go, you have to ask your mommy and daddy first, because I don't want to turn him off of the fact of like being nice to somebody, but there has to be clear boundaries between when somebody does come up to you, and, you know, just making sure that the you know, there is that boundary in and out where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous world out here.
Dangerous world, bro. Dangerous.
I mean, I think it's really important to find a way to navigate that without shutting it down, right? Because I think a lot of the things you hear nowadays when you hear people with mental health issues or feeling alone or like outcasts, it stems from them not being their authentic self or being allowed to be that, right? And so if that is innately who they want to be, we got to find a way to put them on the track for them to encourage that, grow that, be that, while understanding the surroundings and how to like move in the different circles. Because just because I am, you know, boisterous, let's say, right, like doesn't mean that like that E wants to fuck with that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I got to know how to like manage relationships and still try to be me, but be mindful that maybe being me 100% may not always be the right thing in a certain situation. Right. It's mad difficult, but I think we're in a time, fortunately, on this side of things where that can be better understood and we can navigate more easily versus when we were growing up.
Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
bro,
Those conversations wasn't being had at all. Like,
right.
you said therapist earlier. Yo, you know the kind of shit you would be getting if you said therapist 20
crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I'm thankful for that. We got a whole bunch of other problems we got to sort through while we're raising kids. But from an emotional standpoint, I think there are better avenues for us to be able to explore that and nurture that versus when we were growing up.
Yeah. No,
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm super your point too. One thing that made me appreciate this a lot more. So my father passed away about 10 years ago, 2011, right? And our relationship again broken home, but he was still there. So I would visit him all the time. He was very present. Like he was always there for my birthdays, always there. I was always there for Father's Day. Like we were that, right? But he was never affectionate, just super stoic face, all that, right? And we would always just joke about that. Like, man, why are you always so hard, so rough around the edges? And man, I think what allowed me to process his death, we had a conversation like a few months before he passed away. And it was one of those things of like backstory. We did homegrown at in our apartment early on was the apartment building that he owned. Right. So he was like, look, son, look. So at 16, he gave me a car. Right. And at this age, he was like, okay, here's an apartment for you or whatever. And I'm saying it in a way where it wasn't like he just handed me the keys, right? But in his mind, he was compensating for not necessarily being there. He was like, look, I don't understand the world that you live in terms of like the media space and the entertainment, but I see what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and I want to contribute some way, some shape, some form. So these are the ways that I just know how to do it. I just know when you're a teenager to give you a car. I know, whenever I can, when it comes to money wise, if there's money I can give you, cool. And in this sense, it was like, okay, I see that you're doing this thing. I don't understand it, but you need a place to live. Here you go. Boom. Right. And so prior to him passing, we had a conversation because we would never like really go out, just the two of us. It would always just be family events. We would go over there, just kind of hang out, right? So before he passed, I was like, man, let's go out to lunch, man. It's just me and you. And that was one of the best conversations we had because I saw him kind of break down in a way that I've never seen him. And when this is like literally probably maybe the second time in my life that I seen my father cry. And he was just like, man, I'm just sorry that I wasn't emotionally there for you. And I'm like, you're having, I'm surprised you're even saying this, bro. You're having a breakthrough. He's like, but the way I grew up, it was that never happened. Like my father was never affectionate. We grew up, we was 8 of us and boys. He was like, 8 of us boys. So it's like, we just grew up to the point where it was like, man, you got to be a man, blah, 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 this, that. And I never understood how to be affectionate when it came to you guys. He said, one thing that you guys didn't know, I was always there. I was always watching. I was always present. And I felt that in my life. But there were times I was like, damn, man, I would love to just play catch with my pops. I would love for him to pop up to a game and like those things that you would see on fucking Family Matters or sitcoms, and, little classic moments like that. And so I'm telling him all this. I'm like, I really would have loved that growing up. He's like, I get it. He's like, but that's just not the way I grew up. And I was so, to your point, EFN, he's like, I was so fixated on making money and providing for you guys that I wasn't thinking about investing in you guys emotionally. All I wanted to do was make sure you had a roof over your head. I wanted to make sure you had clothes on your back. I wanted to make sure that you had the things necessary so you can actually live. He's like, I wasn't thinking about hugging you, kissing you. I wasn't thinking about none of that shit. He's like, because I never got that. And I turned out okay. And it allowed me to understand the type of person that he was, right? I already knew, but for him to kind of say it felt a little different, right? So months later when he passed, I'm like, damn, I'm so glad we had that conversation. Because had we not, I would have been like, damn, there's things I wish we could have said. There's conversation I wish we could have had. So for me, that allowed me to process his death a lot. You never get over anything, right? But that allowed me to process his death a lot more because we had that in a way like a goodbye conversation, which is so weird to think about now. It was like literally 3 or 4 months prior to him passing. And I'm just like, damn, I'm so glad we had that moment because, had it not, there would be a lot of, voids that I probably wouldn't be able to fill because of, the man that he was.
By chance, was he a veteran?
Nah, he wasn't a veteran. He grew up in the South, from Memphis, Tennessee, moved out of here when he was like 22, 23. So he was a part of like the Watts riots.
In the thick of it in the South also.
Yeah, for sure. So he grew up in Watts, that and then moved out here, Watts riots, but it was so funny because I would always ask him like, yo, because I was really intentional about when I went in my journey in radio, like what you wanted to do as a kid. I was like, what did you want to do as a kid? Like, he's like, I just want to make money. He's like, I didn't give a fuck about no career. My mom, on the other hand, she had aspirations of doing things, but she also, like to your point, Manny, she sacrificed her whole shit for me and my sisters, right? So for me, it's like, I don't know, I have this sense on my back. That's what makes me kind of go hard for what I'm doing now. It's like, yo, you guys provided everything. You literally laid your life on the line and stopped your lives so I can do what I'm doing right now. And to kind of like bring it all full circle, like with my son now, like it's early on, but those are the type of things that I want to make sure that I have for him. I want to have the best of both worlds where I can provide him with everything emotionally, provide him what I can financially, but at the same time, push him to do whatever the fuck it is he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what it is now, but make sure my sons have that, when they're growing up.
Yeah, I asked you if he was a vet because there were some similarities in our story. My dad, in terms of his lack of emotion, he's a Vietnam veteran, so he definitely had PTSD that he never dealt with. So it got transported into other things like alcoholism and drug abuse and stuff like that. And then before that, the way he migrated from Cuba to the United States was pretty wild. He came really young by himself. But then the other thing that resonated is that he wasn't around much, and he would leave, and there was a lot of like violent shit that happened with him and my mom, around me, and shit that was fucked up. But then when he did come around as I got older, the only way he knew to do anything was like to buy me something. Like, so he did get me my first car. He eventually, he was the reason that I have turntables are right in front of me, my first techniques, because I couldn't afford turntables, and I'm here like trying to DJ with two double tape decks, and he caught my first turntables, which changed my life.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like the other side of it is that as much as he did provide some financial stuff that did change my life, the flip of it is I probably would have traded all of that if he would have just been able to have an emotional side and kind of come to grips with his past. But the thing for me is that and it's kind of like the communication thing that happened to you, is we didn't necessarily communicate, but me kind of trying to get an understanding of his life, maybe be able to forgive him, which took a load off of me. But still dealing with it because he's still around. He lives a few miles away from me. I haven't seen him in years, and since my daughter was born, because I tried to reconnect with him so that my daughter could have a grandfather. And now I have my son, who's about to be 3, and he hasn't really come around. And it's really more, the PTSD has gotten worse for him. He's fully fully disabled, veteran, got the dog and everything. And so, I just leave it alone. But I'm always like in between, like, should I make the effort again? But then it's like I don't even know what to tell my kids, like, about like he sent them cards for their birthdays. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, is this your grandfather? Like, when they see shit in cartoons and there's grandpa, I'm like, I don't know what to say, because he's the last. Well, I'm the last. I always think of my grandparents, but it's my mom who they see, and then it's him, and they just don't know about him. Like, my daughter met him, but she don't remember him.
But they have a good relationship with your mom,
my
right?
Mom, yeah, my mom. Yeah.
So have you? I know you reached out to him, but do you ever? This sounds weird, but do you ever just pull up on him, like with the kids around?
I did that before with my daughter,
and
it was just mad awkward, and
gotcha.
It's just, I did it, and it was cool, but it's just like what I needed from him was for him to just
make
show
that
he won. And so what I do now to this day is I send him pictures all the time, like of the kids, and I talk about on here all the time. He's just like, cute, cool. They look
thumbs up.
They look healthy, like mad quick. Like, I'm like, my man, give me something else, bro. Like, come on, dog. And my worst fear is that, I don't think he's doing well in health wise. And I'm just like, bro, like, I don't want him to pass away. And then I have like a bunch of regret that I didn't try it. But I mean, I just don't want to fuck up my kids by them being like, okay, this is your grandpa, huh? And then he's don't come around, like
right.
And then they feel like it's them, like it's just it's mad weird.
I don't know. That's it. The only reason why I asked is because if you know what he's dealing with, right, and you're dealing with a limited time, you don't want to hold that regret when unfortunately something does happen. So it's like if you're making those attempts and your kids see that you're making those attempts, I think that they, again, it's about that conversation. I think they'll see like, damn, we tried to go see Pop, or we pulled up on them. Like they'll know that you made that effort. You've made that effort. But if everybody just kind of at a standstill and you're waiting on him to kind of like do what he may not do, then it's just kind of like I think you see what the future is gonna hold. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I gave up, bro.
He said, "Fuck it, I'm done."
I gave up.
I'm gonna send you these pictures. He's gonna thumb it up.
Yeah, I'm just like, look, man. I just feel like the pictures he should be like fucking inspired. Like, yo, I gotta swing through. I tell him you could come to the crib. I've invited him in the past to birthday parties, saying I know he's not gonna show up. Now, again, mind you, partially I have to say it's probably because of disability now. But it's not like he's immobile. He could move around. He has to take the dog. It's a big ass dog. He takes everywhere. And the dog got the vest with the purple hearts and looks all legit and shit, But yeah, I mean, even right now, I'm like, damn, maybe I should give it another shot. I just would hate to confuse the kids with, oh wait, we got a grandfather?
Yeah.
And he lives right here?
I think if you set the expectation though, like in the best way you can, I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, yeah, that's your grandpops. You might see him sometimes. He never
met my son. And then I gave my son's middle name is my grandfather's name, who I had a really good relationship with his father, which is his father. And he even told me when I told him, like, why you give him that name?
Oh, come on, Pops.
I'm like, come on, man.
But see, again, knowing how he gets down, I don't know if this is like something that you dealt with throughout your whole life. Like, that's just Pops. Like, that's just who he is.
I mean, I throughout my whole life, I was just bitter against him. I'm like, this dude abandoned us at the worst time, like it was just wild, But later in life, as an adult, I'm like, all right, man, I'm over it. Like, I get it, bro. Like, you went through some shit that I couldn't even imagine myself going through, Like I said, the traveling, coming from Cuba and then going to war. And I went through my documentary series that I do, The Coming Homes.
Yeah.
I went to Vietnam and I went to the battlefield that he was in. And I was just like, damn, this dude
was that the one that Dizzle was doing?
I think I did. I want to say I did Cuba.
Colombia.
No, you did. I think you did the Vietnam one. I think you hosted that one. Yeah. The one that I went to Vietnam.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. That's wild, bro.
What you don't know, Dizzle, is that, so I was there, that trip.
Not Vietnam.
No, not Vietnam. But the screening in LA and that you hosted. And right after that, us getting together over there, we started this podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, dude. Full circle.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I want to switch gears just a little bit because you're a new father again, right? 2-month-old child.
Yep.
And we got you the fly.
Congratulations, bro.
Yes. Thank you, man. Congrats. I appreciate that first and foremost.
Yeah. We sent you the Fly Dad bag for you to see if it helped you, right? So what I try to do is I try to find people that I know are in that life stage, and then pick a few. We don't have, we're small startups still, so we're trying to figure out like who we can give stuff to that we think it will actually make a difference in their child rearing. Not so much like, oh, let's see if they show it off. I don't give a shit about that, really. Right. I just want to know, like, yo, does this do what we intended to do or not? And we haven't actually had the conversation yet. You gave me a little bit, but I want to hear your take. How has that worked out for you?
Let me just tell you this. I'm going to be completely honest.
Real quick, just disclaimer. I've met Dizzle now. Well, I can't even call the first time really meeting him. So let's call this the first time we actually meet.
Right.
1 and 2. I've not paid him to say anything. I'm assuming this is gonna be good. This shit could go sideways.
But you are taking it in as a shameless plug.
Right. As you should.
Plug.
Look, clip it up. No, right? Yeah. No, this is super clutch because when I got it, right, I was moving around, and the time that it came was right. Yeah, right. That was good.
I had to get one in.
You got me.
But it depends on who came, right?
Right.
Like, why is it pause? Like, that means that you had the pause moment in your mind.
Oh my God.
The
time that it arrived. All right. The time the bag arrived, it was right before the trip to Atlanta that I took a couple of weeks ago. So I took it as a selfish thing. I'm like, yo, I just need something to put my stuff in. When I tell you, bro, because I went there for business. So it fit my Rodecaster, it fit my laptop, all the wires, all the cords. It allowed me to charge my computer and my phone while I was out there in the airport. So I use it strictly for personal reasons, like not even for my kid shit, right? For the first go round. So I'm like, yo, this, and it's durable to the point where I wasn't worried about, oh man, it's gonna crack my screen on my computer, it's gonna mess up my road. It didn't do any of that, right? And then I saw all these other compartments. I'm like, yo, okay, the bottle can go here. Oh, damn, it's got something for the wipes. Cool. So on our Vegas trip, I doubled back and took it with all the equipment, and I was able to use it on the traveling stuff when we went out to Vegas for both the kids. So, bro, when I tell you it came in clutch, because the backpack that I have that I usually travel with, it definitely wouldn't have been able to do none of that. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I want to say thank you first and foremost for sending that over, right? But I'm just telling you, it really came in clutch in those two trips that I just took a couple of weeks back. Again, one more personal, more business, and the other one for the kids for sure, because I think I was more impressed with that battery pack. And it was like, oh, so it doesn't have just the charger for the phone. It has, the phone, the computer, and any other devices you pretty much want to use. It has. I think I was more impressed with that, and then obviously the different sacks for don't say sacks, sorry. The different compartments, for the bottles and the wipes, and how it's sectioned off in the middle where it's two different things. Like I said, I was able to fit some certain things in one side and the other side and not have to worry about it being smashed. So what you guys got going on is amazing, bro. And I sincerely, I still plan to post about it. I wanted to just give you the heads up about it, but I knew we were going to have this conversation, and I want to tell you, man, thank you so much, because it really, really came in handy for sure.
I appreciate you, bro.
It arrived in handy. Can I say came?
Yeah, you good. I just had to do it for
came
effect.
in handy.
Don't be bullied by his New York pauses.
It's like now I'm worried about it. Damn.
We start second guessing our language
right.
and shit.
Like, geez, but nah, it's for sure. It came in clutch. Now I do appreciate it.
That's dope. I'm glad to hear it, man. Keep me posted if you have any feedback or anything. But yeah, like that's gold, man. So I appreciate you.
And we got a new color scheme coming soon.
We got some.
Word.
Yeah, actually, I might. Let me show you the sample.
Show the prototype.
Please, let me see.
I mean, it's nothing crazy, but
so it's an all black finish.
Nice.
Right here. I changed the handle scheme on it too, so it's one handle. This compartment, you notice that it sticks up here, right? Did you peep that? With the
Yep.
And yeah, so just different fabrics we're messing with, different colorways we're gonna have, probably some Laker colors maybe for the West Coast affiliates over there.
Hey, man.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some things.
Nice, man. I see what y'all are doing. I appreciate it. I salute it. And anything that I can help out, spread the word, or whatever you need on my end. Y'all got my full support for sure.
All right. I'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah, please do. Please
Manny,
do.
Manny will be. Oh, no pause for that, huh?
Oh yeah, right. Oh,
you're gonna be in touch, huh?
Pause. What you touching on, Manny?
Get off me.
Get off me.
No, man, look. Thank you so much for the time. I wish we had more. Whenever we're out in LA and I'm with E, we definitely need to do something. Like,
please, man,
lunch, something.
I got to do the pod again, and we'll bring Manny along.
Yeah, what's so funny is that when we did the pod last time, our whole lives were different, bro. Like,
yeah.
Drink Champs was just starting up. I remember asking you, like, man, so what's the plans in the next 5 years? And, to see what's been going on. Congratulations on that. You. And then obviously with fatherhood, man. I mean, that's just an amazing feat in itself. It's like our lives have completely changed and been different, and you've remained stay the same individual. You've just been a great person. Anytime I reach out, I don't reach out much, but when I do reach out, you're always gracious with your time and just reaching out, supporting what we do on our side. So I appreciate you. And Manny, thank you so much again for just staying tapped in as well and shooting that bag over. And this is the beginning of a dope relationship between the fatherhoods.
Let's go, man.
Appreciate you as well,
bro.
One last question for you before, just to flip it a little bit. So you do your segment, Dad Advice. Now I got a question. What dad advice have you applied in your life recently that you think would be helpful for our audience?
There's two. Well, okay. Let me backtrack with a couple, right? So first of all, one of the best advice that I got was from Chance the Rapper. He literally taught me how to potty train my first kid. And the reason why, because I didn't understand like the whole concept of just let them piss on themselves and let them feel it. So he was really instrumental in telling me like, look, the diapers are cool, but the moment you take those off and just let them sleep regularly, they're not gonna like that. And the earlier I did that, that's when Charles, my first son, he started to kind of get the concept like, oh wait, hold on. So he in the middle of the night, if he like wet himself or whatever, like whenever he had those moments, he did not like that. He like got on it a little quicker than I think he probably would have had I not, if I just kept the diaper on him, right? Another thing, understand that these are for those that have multiple kids, right? Somebody recently told me this, and I didn't get it until my second son got here. Your kids are gonna you have to treat every child different. What worked or didn't work with the first one is not going to be the same for the second one, right? Or I can't speak for after that, but for me in my case, it's like I thought, oh, okay, I got it, smooth. Yeah, I understand how this goes. Nope, it's a crash course. It's a new kid. We were talking about affection. My second one, who's only 2 months, he's the one that's like, no kisses, get off of me. And I'm like, damn, this is already too much. Whereas I remember my first one, he was all smiley, huggy, already in those early stages. So understand that you can't treat it's not a carbon copy. You can't do the same thing from the first and the second one. So understand that, and that's how you tailor to raising the kids that you do have. And I mean, I'm gonna just double back on the time situation, man. Just be present. You know what I mean? Be intentional with your time. And these for those that may have that work situation where you necessarily you can't be there. But if you work a 9 to 5, make sure that 5 to 9 you're there, and that intentional time that you're there and you're spending with them, and you're sacrificing whatever you possibly can. You know, in your life what you can eliminate and what you can't eliminate. Right. You know what I mean? For me, it was drinking. And prior to my son coming here, I made a decision to stop drinking. So I've been sober 7 years now.
Salute you for
and that was, man. Thank you, man. Wow. That was prior to my son getting here. And I feel like I don't know how I would be as a father if I was still drinking. And that's not to say anything about those that do drink, but for me personally, in my story and for what I do, I don't know how I would be. I know how it would be. My fatherhood patterns would be different for sure, because I wouldn't know how to sacrifice my time when it comes to that, because I know there would be a certain amount of time of partying and doing that. Like me, I know I wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm glad I was able to kind of remove myself from that lifestyle 2 years prior to my son getting here. So yeah, be intentional with that time. And man, just love on your kids, man. Love on them and spend that time with them. Be gracious with it as much as possible. And those are the things that I obviously apply. You know, the advice that I've gotten from
You're not just throwing it out there like,
I'm not just throwing it out there.
You should do this. I read it. It's a good quote.
That sounds good. I read it on page 3 of this manual. You know what I mean?
Haven't done it yet, but
haven't done it yet. Let me know how it works for you.
Nah, dope, man. Appreciate you, though.
But thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate you even reaching out and wanting me being a part of this. And absolutely, it means the world, bro. For real. I love what you guys are doing, and keep going.
All right, bro. Peace.
Peace.